Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subject 220722.5. As ALI is taking dainty breaths on the way down, I'm going to get a closer look under cloak and look for weaker spots for us to shoot at first. Oh, and before I forget, Ralph is currently being shrunk and, well, it's only gone 13% so far. We're not doing very well. Hello everyone, welcome to This Week at Twitter, or twat. Today we're going to start with the Fiend Trending on Twitter. Now this was for a number of reasons. One, because Goldberg had spoken up about their match, where he won and essentially ruined the Fiend for everyone else. We can have a very lengthy conversation about the fact that at no point did Goldberg need to have the Universal title at any point, and much like other people who have held the title, delegitimized the whole point of it. I still think the whole thing needs to be nixed and replaced with the World Heavyweight title as it was, because that belt is exquisite, as opposed to this cookie cutter bollocks we get now. Another reason it was trending was because somebody had asked, choose the worst Universal Champion ever. Images, Goldberg, Fiend, and Braun Strowman. If you're only going by those three, I have to say Goldberg because there was no point to him being champion. The Fiend and Daniel Bryan tore the house down. They had fantastic matches, and let's not talk about him and Seth Rollins. Braun Strowman only got the run because the vaunted Hulk Hogan 2.0 was unable to compete owing to being immunocompromised, which I think we can all agree is a perfectly legitimate reason to not be involved. But I do think in the grand scheme of runs, Braun Strowman's was the weakest. And to be honest, Strowman never needed the title. The WWE just proved at that point by putting it on him they really were hedging their bets with Roman Reigns. And they desperately wanted Goldberg to face Roman Reigns, with the title passing from Goldberg to Reigns as a sign of, here's our new alpha top dog head of table guy that we've been force feeding you for years and now you finally like because he's a heel, and actually it works. Well, nothing reeks of frustrating more. Another reason though was because people had asked, what was the worst booking decision made in the last 20 years? You could argue it could be Sting losing to Triple H at WrestleMania, or Lesnar beating Taker at WrestleMania. Others would include Goldberg beating The Fiend, CM Punk losing a title reign to The Rock at the Royal Rumble, Triple H beating Booker T at WrestleMania 19. The list really does go on. If you're only going by the WWE alone, there are a mountain of poor booking decisions, because they really don't know how to enhance talent without burying everyone else to do it, which is why less is more and you rarely see Reigns these days. And I'm still incredibly salty about what happened to The Fiend. He was one of my favourite characters at the time. So next, Dr. Charlotte Proudman. What is more sensitive? 1. The clitoris with over 8,000 nerve endings. Or 2. An incel on the internet trying to defend Johnny Depp and Manson's behaviour. I assume Manson is Marilyn Manson. Based on the fact you put out this very binary tweet, you haven't considered other options. Now, somebody did inquire about Manson, which led to them also suggesting that Dr. Proudman take a trip to the pharmacy, fill a prescription, and take seriously this effort to get well in the head. Others questioning what your colleagues think, with a reply indicating that perhaps they just roll their eyes and humour her. Some saying, 3. You changing your Twitter bio every 5 minutes because you're too insecure and sensitive to criticism and can't decide how to brand yourself. Now that one, that's very specific, and I can't imagine why. Quote retweet, Hannah Wallen of the Honey Badgers. How about a doctor who is so profoundly offended that she doesn't have control over the opinions of all of the men on the internet that she dedicates months of time and energy to whining about it on Twitter? Now this tells me Dr. Charlotte Proudman isn't exactly uncontroversial on the Twitters. And then you go to her Twitter and notice feminist revolutionary, okay, and that Amber Heard has appealed. Hashtag I stand with Amber Heard and every other woman who wants to speak out. Ah, the listen and believe, okay. I'm starting to sense where your mind is at and why you might well be a potential lol cow in waiting. Dr. Charlotte Proudman. Do you want to change your last name so the word man isn't in it? Oh, and to address your question from your original tweet, it should be one, because most incels only have one nerve ending. Just the one, bit like you. So next, let's talk about Wings of Redemption. Many of you will know who he is. If you don't, he's one of the oldest COD players about. Not that good at it. He was a camper. He'd settle in, that was what he did. Got busted by Syndicate, had a massive downfall, plateaued, lost loads of money. Now he gets by doing things he doesn't like doing.
Look here! Look, listen!
He has a history of flagging people, history of reporting people, calling for people to report on people. He also has a history of thinking that the age of consent sometimes should be reduced to 12. There is context, I'm sure, but quite frankly, no.
Look here! Look, listen!
He has attempted over the years podcasting, which didn't do that well for him eventually because he, alienated. He went on a weight loss journey and that also ended badly. Tried to cut corners, didn't help.
Look here! Look, listen!
His relationships are well known and documented. He is one of the oldest lolcows on the site, but he has gotten to a stage where he can somewhat talk about this. Ish. Kind of. When he's in the right mood. I think sugar level means something in this one. Recently he tweeted out, I'll go ahead and address this. I'm currently being blackmailed by someone using the YouTube copyright takedown algorithm to accompany its R2 images. Hi Wingo, due to your recent actions towards the trolls, your channel has been striked. You will receive 34 strikes over the next 1 week and your channel will be terminated. I am offering you a way out of this and your channel will be safe and the strikes will be removed. You are to pay $500 in Bitcoin into a Bitcoin wallet I will provide you with if you want your channel to stay up. If you refuse this offer, your channel will be removed in 1 week, your income destroyed, and you'll have to sell Kelly's new car because you won't be able to afford it due to being banned from YouTube for life. The second image shows that a video of his had been removed from YouTube due to a copyright takedown request, simply called Ranked Arena's New Season. The general perspective of this is that Wings deserves it. Team YouTube has of course inserted themselves as well. Whether Wings has done something like this before and whether or not it is karma, no one should be misusing the copyright system. Wings is just as guilty of this in the past, yes, that does not change that just because he did it does not mean it's right for others to do it to him. Therefore, it should not be done, and this if true, that image with the email, true, then of course it is criminal, and that should be handled properly. I'm somewhat surprised with that YouTube haven't addressed the fact that he's being blackmailed, because their thing here is counter notification, deleting the video won't resolve it, ignoring the fact that the first message implied blackmail. That's interesting. Although they said they'll also look into the misuse of copyright tools, to then terminate abusive creators. Based on that, and no doubt Wings' own report history, by Wings. So to the final subject, X-Men was trending on Twitter. And this is for a number of reasons, but the more notable one was because of Marvel Studios' The Mutants, with Deadline seemingly confirming that the X-Men reboot movie for the MCU will be titled The Mutants, with the quartering retweeting X-Men was never going to survive by 2022 standards. Many people know that a few years ago, some were trying to remove the men from X-Men anyway because they didn't like it. They thought the title was very non-inclusive, so perhaps this was a step in a different direction to get the point across. Others speculated that perhaps, and this is what I thought as well, the reason for this title was because they were going to try and tee up in Phase 5 X-Men as the replacement for Avengers. That's not to say Avengers won't happen again, of course not. I don't really watch hero movies, but the prevailing consensus appears to be that Phase 4 doesn't seem to know where it's going, because they're trying to make new heroes to step up and make these bigger movies, which makes some sense. X-Men is another one of those things where many people have pointed out X-Men may not exist in the MCU, but X-Men have existed for quite a while. The original trilogy, 2 out of 3 were good. The more recent quadrilogy, 2 out of 4 were good. The third one not so much, bit iffy. And the fourth one, the less said about it, the better. I had thought that perhaps you were going to lean, Disney, Marvel that is, more towards the Inhuman stuff first, but I haven't seen too much of that. I don't know why that is. Other things have been promoted to high heaven, but this is not. Oh, and before I forget, the person that believed X-Men was not a sufficiently inclusive name is Victoria Alonso. I still think the mutants will tee up the idea of X-Men as a concept and build on that. I guess it depends on where they intend to go with the other characters that they have in the MCU that are about, or under contract, to use, abuse, and misuse more likely, because it is equally likely they will use less prominent mutants for this film, this project, to try and build up other characters as a way of giving them a platform to make a better stage for them in the future, if that makes sense. Then again, and this is an important point, it wasn't that long ago that you could just make an X-Men movie without having to do many years of TV and subsequent films to set up a standalone film, which does possibly allude to the fact that Disney and the MCU are trying to play the long game with this, stretch it out as far as they can because they don't have some characters anymore. Well, they do, but they don't have the original actors. If any of my incoherent ramblings make sense, do let me know in the comments down below. If you disagree, continue that there as well.